What up, everybody? What day is it? What day is it? You guessed it. It's hump day. Welcome to Coffee Hour. My name's Paul Abernathy, and it's the greatest part of the day. You know it is, other than Friday when it's payday. And then it's pretty much direct deposit now, so you don't get that check. But you know what I mean. It is great to be here. Glad to be here every morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Time to join and get my day started with you folks. So it's always a blessing to make sure you open your eyes and you can see the light. And my wife knows who I am, so it's a good day. My son texted me at 4:58 this morning to remind me that he hates me. It's a great day. I mean, everything's just moving on all cylinders. Okay, wow. So anyway, thanks for joining. Hopefully, you have a good start to your day and get you in the going mood to make a little money, learn a little code, teach somebody, learn something yourself, all those type of good things. Remind you folks that I vicariously live through all of you and appreciate everything that you do for this industry and day in and day out. And this is I am so blessed to be able to even be in this industry. I've been doing it now coming up on 40 years and it's just a blessing. There's nothing else that I can think that I'd rather be doing in my life than to start out a career in teaching, working in electrical, growing a business, getting to the pinnacle of what I feel I did in the business, and then continue on to teach others. So, hey, it's a great day to be here. So anyway, I do want to real quick give a shout out and let you know that a lot of people on the social media contact me or do this little @ comment thing or whatever, or mention me in some posts and all. I do not respond back directly anymore to comments on other platforms, especially TikTok. So it's no point in doing that. Plus, most of the people have either blocked or have blocked me for whatever, because I'm a notorious blocker, and people will remind you of that because I don't wish to engage in that kind of thing. I don't really care if somebody wants to argue a point. I'm just not into it. So I stopped doing that. So if you want to reach out to me again, y'all know how to get me. You can comment on certain platforms, but at the end of the day, the easiest way to get questions to me or anything you want to get to me is to go to paulabernathy.com. Of course, you can use our, if you're a Fast Track student or you're a member of the Fast Tracks program, the Fast Track Interact is the best way to get it because I can directly answer your question within your program. But there's other ways. There's a contact us feature on all of our platforms, so feel free to reach out that way. Again, I don't really comment back on things or videos or somebody might post on social medias, TikToks, all that kind of stuff. I really don't. If I do, it's a rarity. And if it's a marketing thing where I'm posting things like about courses or whatever, that doesn't necessarily mean it's me. It might be Darlene, it might be Jeff or whatever posting for me on my accounts, which they have full access to. I have nothing to hide. I don't have any personal accounts where it's just like for me. I'm just not that into the social media where it's just me, that type of thing. So my accounts are open to anybody that are in here that I trust to be able to do it. But they typically won't give technical advice or anything like that. It'll just be a quirky type of post or a reply or maybe a marketing or something like that. We're promoting a product or something like that. But that's all you're going to get from me. I'm just not a big believer in social media and what it's done. Although I know it's a necessary evil, right? So we are a part of it. So it is what it is. I just won't use it as a teaching platform nearly as much as most people would probably like me to use it. Right? So I just wanted to get that out there in case you wondered, that type of thing. Hey, let me do some shout outs to folks that did join us here. So let me know who you are, where you're from in the comments, and then we'll get into today. What we're going to do today is we're going to go back and look at some code questions and dissect them. But we're going to move through them pretty quickly. So again, there is a lot of misconceptions out there when it comes to preparing for an electrical exam or using code questions to is the only means to prepare for an exam, that you have to go through them very quickly and things like that. And you don't have to do that. You use the pieces that are in it to send a message, to teach you something. I mean, most of the time you pay good damn money for these code questions, unless you write them yourself. And if you write them yourself, you probably already know the answer. So what's the point, right? So take your time, be diligent about it, get your money's worth out of a code question database or any questions that you may have when you're learning the National Electrical Code. I'll also remind you, it is my belief that even if you already have licenses, that you on a monthly basis should do at least 10 code questions to keep you fresh, to keep you sharp in this profession. Okay, so it's just a believer that I am constantly looking at questions, constantly reading the code, constantly staying in it, and I don't even work with the tools anymore. So again, I'm not a real electrician. Okay, I just play one on the internet. That's what they say. So yeah, I encourage you to constantly stay and dabble in the code and just keep it sharp because, as you know, the baseline for being a really good electrician is not just being able to work with these, but to also be able to work with this. And I don't know any other way you can do it other than to hone those code skills. So that's what we try to do here every morning, give you a little bit of things to think about. Also, if you haven't watched the last couple of weeks, we went through this period of series where I was doing a series on grounding, a series, grounding and bonding, service bonding, load side bonding. We went through the series of swimming pools, really high level stuff, not digging deep into the weeds. Because again, in future episodes of Coffee Hour, because again, we're doing this 5 days a week, I will dig into the little pieces, okay? The little things and get deeper into it. But when I do these series that I do, they're really just the 10,000 foot view. And where we need to later, I will dig into certain pieces and do little episodes on things like that. I mean, you can appreciate the fact that you got to come up with content, right? So I got my coffee this morning, just a little Dunkin' Donut coffee, nothing special, none of that fancy dancy foo-foo. Some might call that foo-foo. My brother does French press everything. I mean, he manually makes his coffee every morning. That's too much work, man. I just pop in the K-cup and let it roll. I'm just saying. All right, let's do some shout-outs real quick. What's up, Paul? Thanks for joining me down in Houston. Glad to have you here. Jonathan, glad to have you here. Did get your message through paulabernathy.com, Jonathan. Keep at it, my brother. You're going to get it. You're doing great. Just keep at it. Keep learning. Any questions you have, just feel free to post them on the Fast Tracks Interact and, check back frequently. I'll get the answers to you. What's up, Marlon? Glad to have you here. Tampa, Florida. Marlon's down in Tampa. What's up, Adam? Good morning. I am doing well. I cannot complain. All things considered, I cannot complain. Is it perfect world? No. Will it ever be? No. But hey, could be much worse. So I am blessed. What's up, Cray Cray? Hump Day. He's in Tennessee. There you go. And likes all kinds of music. There you go. He got the pint in the hand. Adam's got his pint ready to go. Want to learn some code. Okay. Also, guys, if you have any questions about code and you want to ask, if I know the answer, I'll answer it. If I don't, I'll defer to you to go to Paul Abernathy so I can research it more. I don't know everything right off the top of my head. Another misconception out there in social media and people that are the haters say, Paul thinks he knows everything. Paul never said that. But haters are going to be haters. My son is one. He is a hater. Let's see here. What do we got here? And some of that makes people happy. They'd be like, ooh, Paul's own son doesn't like him. Yeah. Yep. So that makes you feel good. There you go. What's up, Rob? Glad to have you here. Cray Cray's born nerdy. I posted something. I said, let's get nerdy. Cray Cray says, too late. I'm already nerdy. Already in the nerd factor. What is up, Charlie? Oh, by the way, folks, yesterday, sorry for the stream mess up. I don't know what the hell happened. It's just part of EV Mux, and I am still on Starlink, by the way, so it could be about the loading and capacity. Things weren't working. I had other computers. I had 3 computers running, and all of them connected to it could be. Still waiting for the hard connection to fiber to come in. It's still not here. Things will change there. We have a lot of things we're planning on doing that is very bandwidth driven, like even connecting over into the podcast area. It is very bandwidth restrictive. So at the end, things right now, we're still on Starlink. So hopefully I have fiber in before Vince Delacroce gets here in November or December for our pool and spa series. I'm hoping, because I want to be able to have him in the pod room, a camera on him in here, and we shoot back and forth to have a discussion. That I'm hoping that works. If not, I'll have to figure something out. Okay, but we aren't going to be doing it live, so it's probably going to be okay, because that doesn't use bandwidth when we're just recording. So that's probably be all right. Let's see here. What's up, Tom? Up in BWI, doing some commissioning, baggage handling system controls today. No, that sounds like fun. Not. I'm just saying. What's up, Angel? Good morning. I am doing great. I cannot complain. Life is what it gives us. What's up, Red Dog?
Woo, 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 woo. Big dog.
There you go, David. Thankful for another sunny day. Yes, it looks like it's going to be a pretty day here in Virginia. I see that last night in Texas through Oklahoma, all through there, they got hammered with storms last night. I don't miss that, folks, from Texas. I was always nervous about tornadoes and stuff in Texas. I mean, because we are right there. I was in McKinney. We were right there on the edge of that tornado alley, buddy. And I tell you what, when those warnings would come up, I'd pucker up, buddy. I'm just saying. Let's see here. What's up, Manny? Good morning. Got his lime green on, Code Nerd. Manny is really code nerding it up with that hoodie on. Let's see here. David, keep forgetting to email you my address. Bar Waffle, email me that address. Let me know. Let me know. Says, every time I comment on an electrical page on social media, I lose faith in humanity. It confirms that we are all regressing back to one cell organization. Unfortunately, Tom, you are 100. I like you, Tom. We seem to be so aligned. Even when we did your thing, it's like we're just code connected. But at the end of the day, yeah, it is sad what's happening, and I had to really stop commenting because it did get me frustrated. And yeah, you want to change the world, you want to make people understand things better, but they argue over the minutia. That's not that. I'm not interested in their opinions. I'm just here to teach code. So I realized it was futile. I'm not, and so social media can take you down a rabbit hole where I looked at how about a year ago, the TikToks and all would send you this thing that lets you know how much time you spend online on your phone. And then my phone monitors it. And I enabled that. Jeff actually enabled that. And, just because he said I was spending too much time on the phone, answering stuff, texting, and back and forth. And it was amazed the amount of time it consumed. And that's when I realized I got more important things to do. I give an hour, sometimes 2, sometimes almost 3 every morning. Other than that, I try to stay off of the other stuff to keep it relevant. I let them do social posts on it. They all have access to my accounts. I don't care. I'm not hiding anything. They're Jeff's family. Like family, Darlene is family. So, I mean, I don't care. But yeah, I try not to, because I tell you, some of the stuff that I read is it's depressing. So what's up, Felix? And I'm reminding all of you out there that come to us this morning, that come to us at Coffee Hour, don't be those people. Here's my advice to you. And I can start with at least you that are watching. Don't post a comment to something on social media unless you know for a fact you're right. Don't do it because of it's a gut. Don't do it because it's something you've done forever. Just restrict that, kind of hold that urge to post unless you know without a doubt. And hell, go to paulabernathy.com and ask before you post. Okay, a lot of people do that. Even some very well-known social media posters come to me and ask questions before they post something. And make sure you post code references. So anytime you're going to tell somebody they're wrong, just throw in the code reference. You're like, well, that's too much trouble. Well, that's a good opportunity for you to learn code a little bit better. Means stop. Maybe you have a link on your phone. Go look it up. Make sure you're right. And then post it. Because what we don't want to do is we want to be part of the solution. We don't want to be part of the problem. That type of thing. And that's the problem we have right now. If you go to a Facebook forum or any of those forums and you look at these, those electrical forums, I'm only a member of one of them. And there's like 1 million people on there. But Jesus, if I had to spend time on that thing and read and comment to these people's posts, I would go freaking nuts. Because some of the stuff they post, one, to trigger people. I think it's just a trigger. And two, you look at it and go, are you really that stupid? Now, I tell people all the time in seminars, I go, look, ask me questions. There's no stupid question. When you post something on social media that is so blatantly wrong and you're just baiting people to comment, you're just trying to get clicks or exposure. And that's a difference. I guess that's a business model for them. It's no business model for me. I don't care whether you subscribe or not. I appreciate you subscribing so you can get the content, but I don't get monetized. I don't monetize anything except for my YouTube channel. That's it. I don't monetize anything, any other platform. Now, the reason I do the YouTube channel is because that's the one I started with, YouTube, years and years and years ago when YouTube first came out. And so it just, once I got to a certain level, it monetized, or I monetized it. Then I don't, it's hardly worth, I don't follow that type of thing. It deposits whatever it deposits and is what it is. But I'm not after the clicks. I don't really care about that stuff. I do appreciate you that come. I'd rather have that. And also when people talk about other people that have 500,000 to 1 million followers and they're like, oh, they must be so smart. No, that's like the people that watch Naked and Afraid. I can't watch that show. My wife loves watching that thing. I'm sitting there going, they got billions of probably people watching that. I can't watch that. I'm like, first of all, why would I be naked? And secondly, why would I be thrown in the middle of somewhere that I got to struggle to find food? What realm of reality is that ever going to happen? That I'm going to be naked and thrown out afraid? That's bullshit. That ain't never happening to me. So why would I watch that show? I watched one season of it and I was like, really? Anyway, what's up, Santana? Good morning. Glad to have you here. What's up, Leroy? Glad to have you here, my friend. Welcome this morning. Usul, if I say it right, #win. That's how you do it. Okay. Jonathan says he feels like the fast track is making you code smarter. Well, folks, Jonathan, that's exactly what it's supposed to do. And if you follow the plan, read it, look at the graphic, follow the chevrons, go to your code book, read it, come back to look at the illustration, reread it again, have any questions, use the interact, cut and paste your question, get an answer, learn the code, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. And if there's any videos you want to see to help solidify that knowledge, if you have the enhanced program, you go over to Fast Track's Tube, you watch a video, you do the search feature, you search for something, grounding, bonding, services, whatever you search for, watch the video and come back to the course. Dude, that's the difference. That's the difference in our program. Really, I'm not downing anybody. That is the difference. If you use it the right way, you can be successful and you'll remember stuff. That's what I really want. I mean, it's important for me, for those that are exam prepping, it's important that you pass your exam. But to me, is as important to me as what you can retain. And again, repetition is why I use a method of repeating things over and over again in my videos. It uses a technique of repetition, and that is because I'm subliminally trying to pump into your head code stuff that you'll remember. Like it or hate it, thumbs down it, thumbs up it. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me, but I do it because I know it works, and that's why I do it. Okay, that's just why I do it. What's up, Adrian? Good morning from Houston, down in Houston area. Glad to have you here. Rob, good morning from Northern Iowa. Okay, following over on the tube. Appreciate you. But not just the tube, because it looks like he's got another one over on tube. Let's see here. I know that he's on multiple platforms. There's no damn way that he's not on multiple platforms. Oh, that one's on the tube too. Okay, all right. Oh, by the way, I do see you folks over on Instagram. EV Mux has not figured out how to pull the comments from Instagram over here or vice versa. So if you're over on Instagram and you're watching, you're probably not seeing all the people's comments. I encourage you to leave Instagram and go over to fasttrackstube.com. Watch there. You can see the comments there. Or you can go to our YouTube channel at Master the NEC and you can see the comments and you can chime in as well. That type of thing. Let's see here. What's up, Angel? Good morning. Okay. You are very welcome Angel. We have a bunch more coming this summer, hopefully. Jeff gets back from feeling sick. Let's see here. Tony Ray, glad to have you here. Ola. Let's see here. What's up, Haas? Good morning. Down here in Richmond, I believe. Aren't you? Down in Haas, down in Richmond. What's up, Charlie? Glad to have you here, Charlie. Welcome, as usual, every morning. What's up, Terrence? I'm up here in the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area. Contractor, welcome. What is up, Edgar? Glad to have you here. Tom, get at it, buddy. Get that compliance done. Glad to have you pop in. Still waiting for your essay. Get it in here, okay? Get it in here, my friend. All right. Let's see. Back and forth works. There you go, Jonathan. What's up, Ryan W? Good morning. Glad to have you here. What is up, Alex? Glad to have you here. Good morning. All right. Let's get into some code questions today. So before I get into code questions, people ask me, this is a common question I get about exam prep or how much time you should spend. So if you're here for exam prep or you're preparing for an exam, this is going to be beneficial to you. How long should you study? Well, to be proficient for an electoral exam, you need to put it in about 90 days. That means studying 2 times a week at minimum for 4 hours each time. That's going to equate to about 95 to 100 hours of direct study time. And so over 90 days, twice a week, 2 times a week, 4 hours each session, or you could even break that up to be 4 times a week if you got the time, 2 hours each session. Either way, the way the math works is it's a specific amount of dedicated time. Now, is there a process where you can study too much in a short period of time? Yes. You can get to the point where the mind gets mushy and everything you read just kind of jumbles together, and it makes it very hard for you to retain. So I tell people, look, you need to have balance. Okay, studying the code can be difficult for many people because it is a bunch of mushy words that mold together, and it doesn't always separate nicely. You read something in the next sentence, it reads something else, and next sentence it says something else. Look, the NEC is not easy. If it was easy, anybody could do it. If it was easy, anybody could go check out an NEC out of the library and just follow it to an installation. And it's not an installation manual. It's for the trained professionals. So it's going to be difficult at first, okay? Just like you can't do brain surgery, right? So at the end of the, or maybe you can. Some of you may be. Some of you might be, this might be your second career. Your first career might have been a brain surgeon and like, shit, I'm tired of that. I want to be an electrician. It's possible. It's plausible. It could happen. I'm just saying. But anyway, so you got to put in the time, right? And coffee does fix, yeah, coffee does fix mushy. And you know, and if you're like Phil Robertson, it was just black coffee. I'm sorry, God rest his soul. I loved Phil Robinson. I loved his message, and I had been following him for years. But and he's funny, and his Philisms are crazy. But no, I have to put a little bit of coffee, half and half, in my coffee, and 3 packets of Splenda. I will probably find out that Splenda is going to be the root of some type of cancer. But hey, such is life. We all have to die from something eventually, I guess. So, but gets me going in the morning until I have more than 3 cups. Then I have to switch to a Diet Pepsi. Oh, by the way, I did try out the Blackberry Dr. Pepper. If y'all are not familiar with that, that's brand new. 0 sugar, Blackberry Dr. Pepper, and it is great. So I've been drinking that instead of Diet Pepsi to give a little break because we drink way too many Diet Pepsis in this house. All right, I don't know where I was at, but anyway, let's get to the lesson today. Let's look at some code questions. But again, put in that time. After about 90 days, it'll be where you have that confidence level to go in and take the exam where it's like you walk in, it's like a John Daly moment. You're like, okay, where's the first tee and what's the course record, right? Same concept. You're going to walk in and going, all right, let's get this thing going. And what's the record? It's that level of confidence you'll get. But that's only if you study right. If you're just flipping back and forth, or you get some kind of program that is very limited. There's a program going around that's like a 150-page flyer. I think Jay's promoting it now since I booted him off of the fast track stuff. I think he's promoting this thing. He doesn't care about it. It just makes money because he's an affiliate. He doesn't really care. He has no vested interest in it. But I caution people from those type of flyers type of stuff, not to degrade it. I'm just saying I caution people from that because I don't think that you are going to get anything long term out of it. And I don't think that you don't have somebody to ask. You don't have to be able to interact. You don't have the images with the code and the code reference. It's just not a system. And I prefer you to do something right the first time than having to do stuff over and over again. If I had $1, like I said, for everybody that called me, even last week, that says I got this video program and I still can't learn anything, or I can't pass the exam. That's because you're not putting in the time the right way. And there's a reason why the fast track systems, there's a reason why we trademark the name. There's a reason why it doesn't matter if I just use the code book to teach it, there's still a method to teaching. And, so many people want to start a business and just start charging people money to be a code instructor. And, God bless them, they can do what they want. But I'm telling you, you pay your hard-earned money. If it's not with me, study the right way. If you don't go with me, that's fine. Go with somebody like Mike Holt that has a track record. Be leery of these people out there that just spring up and want your money. It doesn't matter if they're charging $49.95 or $1,000 for that. Just be careful, okay? Use a little bit of history to make your ruling before you just jump into it. I know everybody has to start somewhere, but at the end of the day, just be careful. It's so easy to turn a camera on and look good for 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 30-minute video. Do a little research on the people that you're buying courses from. That's all I'm saying. Not downing anybody. I'm just saying, look, this is investment in your future. Do a little due diligence. Okay. All right. Let's go on and look at some questions real quickly. And we'll go through these pretty quickly because I'm going to, we want to cover as many as we can. So we'll go through them. If we need to go look them up in the code book, we'll go look them up. We'll look up. I have the index all geared up. If you want to ask the hog any of these, just let me know. We'll ask the hog and see what it says. All right, so the first one says blank, and y'all should know this one. We just did service bonding. It was a series that we did a couple weeks ago. So in the comments, let me know. And again, this is how it goes. This would be A, this would be B, this would be C, this would be D, or you could do 1, 2, 3, 4, just like it shows here. You don't have to type the whole thing. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, or A, B, C, D. Let me know your thoughts. And if you have a code reference, give us the code reference. However you feel it's going to benefit you. Okay. If you take the time, it doesn't matter, even if we moved on to a question, if you look it up, you find the answer, and what I want to encourage you not to do, like I said on social media, is just blurt out an answer and you're not really sure. I would prefer that you take the time, go look it up. And even if we are moved on to another question, and if you're watching this replay later, then you want to pause, answer the question, and then you'll give the answer and that type of thing. That's the best way to do it. And we have a lot of videos on Fast Track's Tube, as well as YouTube, that has code questions. They are a great resource. All you got to do is just pause your screen, look it up, and then press play and go. Okay, that type of thing. And I might even work on this live session. You're just not going to be able to be live. Now, over on Fast Track's Tube, you have a little line that you can move back and forth. So you could pause it, answer the question, and then speed it up to wherever you wanted, and it would come back to the live. I can't give you instructions on that. I think that's how it works. But anyway, use it how you need to use it. I'm just going to show you how I would go through these questions and what triggers it would give me, and then hopefully you'll learn something from this. Also, I should mention, we do have some new videos that'll come out that are code questions where I go through and answer 5 code questions in detail. So those will be available here shortly. But that is going to be what we call the mini code quizzes that I go through piece by piece. Okay. And that will be my extended commentary, whether people like that or not. All right. So blank shall not. So this is a shall not, right? Blank shall not be allowed to bond non-current carrying metal parts of service equipment or raceways. So this implies it would be service raceways. Okay. So it says, so First thing we know with this one, we look at it and say, well, obviously this is a service. Okay, that's a no-brainer. It says right here, service equipment or raceways. So we know it's talking about service equipment and service raceways. So our third things that we can do and we can't do when it comes to that. Now, this should be a no-brainer when I look at this if you went through our program because, okay, so you're saying, all right, where in the code does it talk about service bonding? Well, y'all remember, you should remember that we're talking about 250.90, 250.92, and 250.92b talks about the different methods that we bond at the service. Means we know that when we saw this word, service, that we have to do a little something, something. And all we got to remember in our mind is at no point can we use standard lock nuts. So when I see a question like this that says service, I'm immediately looking here and going, well, I know I can use bonding bushings. I know that I can use threadless couplings or connectors. I know that I can use threaded couplings and connectors, okay? So, but the obvious one here, regardless of all of these are perfect, like I might argue that the bonding bushing isn't the perfect answer when it comes to service applications because it needs a bonding jumper, but it didn't say whether there's any KOs involved. It didn't say any of that stuff, right? So they could be all gone. So you're looking at this on, when I look at a question like this, if you get a question like this on an exam, your mind needs to go right to the obvious. This is service. You all know that you cannot, you have to have a little something extra when it comes to service. So you're not going to be able to use lock nuts. So when it says double lock nuts, most of you in the trade are familiar that it'd be like a rigid RMC or IMC that's threaded. It has a lock nut on the outside and a lock nut on the inside. Okay, that may be applicable to a feeder application or branch circuit application, right? Depending on what you encounter, unless it's over 250 volts to ground. So, but at the end of the day, we're talking services. So a little something, something extra would tell me it has to be this one. Okay, you cannot use double lock nuts. What's our code reference? Our code reference is 250.92b1, b2, b3, which is going to talk about these three, right? And it's going to be very clear in this statement that you can't use lock nuts, right? So try to remember bonding at services, something to commit to memory if you can, okay? There's little things that you can commit to memory, little things that you can try to remember. I like to try to remember. Service bonding. Remember, .92. Service bonding, 250, 92, okay? Starts this journey at 90, okay? You're like, service bonding, 92. Gives me the different methods, that type of thing, right? So think services, think bonding, think a little something, something, little something extra. And that's going to, if you look at that list, and the only thing that is obviously going to stand out is the lock nut application, okay? Does that make sense? All right, so let's go to the next one here. So this says the minimum size for a grounding electrode conductor used on a DC, okay, again, obscure question, but very could appear on an exam, okay, is it says the minimum size for grounding electrode conductor used for a DC 3-wire balancer set electrical system is blank. Well, first thing you should see with this is it's talking about a grounding electrode conductor. Okay? So you know it's in 250. You know it's in 250. But you're thinking, well, when it comes to grounding electrode conductors, again, this is before we've even looked anything up. And we can look up in the back of the book. Okay? But before you've even looked anything up, you're thinking, wait a minute. I know that grounding electrode conductors, I'm dealing saying, wait a minute. I know that that is 250.66 for AC systems. So what about DC? Well, if you commit something to memory, then you can remember that 6.66, that the DC equivalent to that is .166. Okay, throw the 1 on front of it. You don't really have to remember that when it comes to this one, because we can go look at the NEC right here, and we can go to 250. If you can go to the table of contents and do this, but if you go look at 250 over here, just in general, and you scroll down, you see bonding. Remember bonding? That's part 5. Remember I told you that's where the services start right here. So you just remember part 5, bonding. Any bonding thing, jump to part 5. Even if you bold scan, jump to part 5. Also remember that all those things, load side, supply side, all of that with services, all of that's going to be right in here. .90, .92. You can skip .94. That's for communication systems. That's intersystem bonding. It doesn't really flow into the same concept of what we're talking about. But you can remember .92 for services, .96 for feeders and branch circuits, and then .97 for over 250 volts of ground. Okay, so those are the ones that you just remember when it comes to the bonding aspect. Now, back to where we were. So if you're looking in the table of contents, then you could probably bold scan and you'll see where it talks right here. Under grounding and bonding, you'll see it says direct current systems. That's DC. So half the battle is already there. So using the table of contents, you're like, well, wait a minute. I remember that for DC grounding, that I'm like, okay, there is a part specifically to this titled direct current system. Also, there's another way to do this. If you go and you look at the infogram, so you go to 250 and you see this infogram right here, right? And you're looking at this and go, okay, I'm looking at all of this down here. You're thinking, okay, I see all this bonding, right? And you're thinking, well, I don't see anything in here. Does this help me? Well, I would say this is an incomplete diagram, but others would say it's not. They say, oh, it's fine. But it looks good, but what do you see right here? I would structure this a little different, but it's fine. So right here, what does it say? Direct current systems. Now, if you're in a state that allows you to write in your code book, okay, I'm gonna give you some little tips. So you got to check maybe your state. You got to see whether your state lets you do this or not. Don't say Uncle Paul said I could go write in my code book. In Texas, you're fine. Virginia, you're fine. Many states, if it's in pen, it's not pencil, it's permanent. So a lot of times I tell people to the right of these things, be sure to do things like put page numbers over here. Put a page number so you can go to where this starts. Okay, in this space that you have, write the page number so that you can flip right to it. Okay, so again, take advantage of these areas to make notes in here. Okay. In here, you might want to do a quick note, like right here in this space. If you can write in your code, I'm giving you little tips, folks, not just for an exam, but in the real world to help your life be a little smoother. If you can write in your book right here, this is where you put 250. You put tables, important tables. 250.66 grounding electroconductor, 250.122 equipment grounding conductor sizing. 250.102C1, grounded conductor, supply side bonding jumper, system bonding jumper sizing, and put a little table, write them right here. You've got all this space that you can use to make your little notes, right? Remind, if it's rod, pipe, or plate, you can say, look at 250.66A. If it's a UFR, look at 250.66B. There's so much room here. Put your page numbers right here. Okay. Again, just little, so that when you get a grounding and bonding type question, instead of immediately going, wait a minute, I know where it's somewhere in 250, go right to the infographic page, boom. Then you can see all these notes. Only do that in the testing centers that allow you to do that. And it's only going to work if they allow you to take your code book in, right? That don't make sense. But again, that is a tip for folks because many states that do let you write in your code book. So again, use those spaces in your code book to make those little notes. But the key thing is put them in locations where you're going to remember. Like in the front where all the code panel members are, there's a lot of blank space up there. So that's where you're going to put things like formulas, all this kind of stuff. You're going to put them up there, voltage drop formula, all the different things. You're going to put that there. So could you know like, oh, this is a question, I need a formula. That's where you go, right? To the front. When it's a grounding and bonding type question, boom, go to the infographic. There's plenty of space on there for you to make little notes. And I always say, don't get messy. Don't get scribbly. Take the time to make notes. And back when I used to do that, I actually would put a ruler down and I would use a pencil to make a line, and then I would write my note out on that line, and so I could erase the pencil line. So everything was the same line. Now, when I got to be a plans examiner, I used to do an awful lot where I'd put a ruler on the page, and I would write everything on so that I came down onto the ruler. And so I used to get used to making like block letters, and the ruler would keep everything flat. Okay, it's just something I would do in red pen or red marker on my drawings. And a point is, scribbling doesn't do you any good if you can't understand what the hell it says. And if you're like me, if you go scribbling, I can't even read my own scribble. So just take your time. Again, make your code book professional, and keep it everything so that it's legible, that anybody that could read it, that type of thing. These are just some tips. Okay, you do you, but I'm just giving you some tips. All right, so in this case right here, since we know it's grounding electroconductor, and we know that there's a specific part 8, that deals with that, then we can easily go to the NEC and say, all right, well, I want to go to part 8 to deal with that. That's it right here. Now, even if I didn't know where to go, I could hit right here on 250.60, and I could bold scan. And remember what we're looking for, triggers. Triggers, folks. DC 3-wire balancer set. Right? And we're talking about grounding electroconductor. 2 key things to remember in your mind. Okay? So that was there. So we're like, okay, there's a direct current system shall be grounded. Okay, I don't see anything about 3-wire balancer set. Oh, here we go. All right, so the 3-wire direct current system. Okay, nothing in that's talking about the grounding electroconductor. So you know you're in the right place. Okay. 64 connections, not point of connection. No, that's not one. Okay, size of the direct current grounding electroconductor. Ding, 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 ding. Took me hardly no time. Quickly, my eyes are going to go and look for what we're talking about. All right, because this is just in general, and we're looking for what? A DC 3-wire balancer set. So I'm looking through here and like, okay, I need to look through here and see, okay, what am I looking for? All right, and say, okay, minimum size. So this says a 2, a 6, a 8, and a 4. Okay. And you're thinking, okay, well, where am I at? All right. Well, here's a 3-wire balancer set. Okay, so we're under 66, the first one. Not smaller than the neutral conductor. All right, so if the DC system consists of a 3-wire balancer set, ding, 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 okay, the overcurrent protection is provided in 445.12d. It says the grounding electroconductor shall not be smaller than the neutral conductor and not smaller than an 8 copper or 6 aluminum. Okay, so what did our question say? Our question said the minimum size. Didn't say anything about the neutral, so we don't care. We really don't care. It didn't say anything about it in the question, right? It says the minimum size of the ground electroconductor used for the DC 3-wire balancer set is blank. So we have 6, 2, 8, and 10. So the next thing somebody's going to say, well, Paul, how do I know it's not 6 or 8? Right? Well, that's the first rule. The rule is you always assume copper unless it's stated otherwise. Okay? That's your general rule. Use copper unless the question dictates otherwise. And you might even get a state where their questions say, hey, we always go with copper. Again, every state's different. But as far as the code's concerned, always go with copper when they don't state. Okay, so in this case, it says what? It said 8 copper. So we'll choose 8. And there's our reference, 250.66a. What did Tim? What's up, Tim? Passed to Idaho and Texas the last 2 weekends. Awesome. You can't write or take notes in your code book in Idaho. You can in Texas. Yep, you can. So be careful of your state. I know Texas, you can. Virginia, you can make permanent notes in it. You know what? This is really easy to identify because most of the states are PSI driven exams. So you can go to PSI and you can get a bulletin. And in the bulletin, it will tell you, just use Google. Go and say, give me the PSI exam for whatever state. And it will say right in there that you can write or you can't write, that type of thing. But again, check every state, okay? All right, let's go to another question. All right, next question. All right, let me hold on for a second. Let me get my thing here so it doesn't pop up on me. Okay, it says a 150 amp panel installed in a 40 degrees C location. Okay, so it's 40 degrees C location requires a minimum of blank AWG THW conductor. Okay, so we have very limited information here, by the way. So first of all, if I see this question, somebody goes, whoa, this uses 310.12. We can use the 83% rule. Well, I don't see anything in here that says I can do that. Okay, I don't see anything in here that says it is between 100 and 400, but it doesn't say it's a dwelling. Doesn't say it's a single family. It doesn't tell me any of that stuff. So a lot of times the mind wants to start venturing in other directions. This could be very much a question you would get on an exam, and you're like, okay, where do I even begin? Well, first of all, let's understand that we're dealing with THW conductor. So you have to understand the nomenclature of a THW. T being thermoplastic, H being hot or high, which is 75, and a W being wet location. Okay, so those are our limitations now. It didn't say it, so you're saying, okay, well, what about this 40 degrees C? I get you, but you're probably thinking, okay, what do I adjust from? Because it's still a 150 amp panel. And so we don't know what the loads are. So what do we have to assume? Right. I have people that actually email and say, Paul, I can't tell you the answer to this one because it doesn't have enough information. Sure, it has enough information. Plenty of information to answer this question. So let's look at it. Let's break this sucker down. All right, so 150 amps, we're going to assume that that panel will see 150 amps. People say, whoa, Paul, you can't load that panel more than 80%. Bullshit. It's bullshit. I can load this panel up to 150 amps. Not have a problem with it, as long as it's not for over 3 hours of continuous load, okay? But I can have a lot of other loads that aren't continuous that may add up to 150 amps. That doesn't justify them as being a continuous load. It's just at any given time, I could have 150 amps on this panel. So that's not a problem. So we're not a continuous load issue, right? Okay, so we're going to assume a worst case scenario. There's going to be 150 amps potentially on this panel. And it is in a 40 degrees C location, which is other than 30 degrees C, 86 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? And so it's THWN. So let's go to the NEC, and I'll reference you back here. Don't worry, I'll reference you back. So relax. You're like, Paul, don't lose the question because I'll get lost. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is when I look at a question like this, I'm going to go to 31016 because I want to see what the ampacity of this sucker is. And I want to see what the ampacity of a THW is first, okay? Because I already know the amps. I just want to see what it is. So I'll go to 31016 right here. Okay, let me jump this down real quick. Okay, so again, we're assuming copper because it doesn't state anything otherwise. So we're copper. Now, you see THW right here, okay? And over here, it's THW-2. Well, we're not dealing with THW-2. We're dealing with THW. So THW is firmly under the 75. So people say, well, what about that 40 degrees C? Well, yeah, I'm going to be adjusting and correcting for this ambient temperature. I'm going to be doing it from the 75. I'm not going to be doing it from the 90. People say, whoa, wait a minute, Paul. I thought you can adjust from the 90. You can when the insulation's rated for 90, right? So Ryan asked a good question. What does the -2 mean? So here's something maybe you don't know. The -2 is a fancy way of manufacturers telling you that insulation is rated 90 degrees, wet or dry. So THW is 75 with the W, it's wet, right? And so over here, what happens is when we throw that -2 on it, right? Then it is good for 90 degrees, wet or dry, okay? Because of that -2. So the -2 is telling you that the insulation is rated 90. And so when you do have to do an adjustment or correction, like what we're getting ready to do, then I can use the ampacity from the 90. Now, I still can't exceed the rating of the lug. So the lug is still probably in this case, because it is over 100 amps, it's going 110.14c is going to tell me that I'm limited to the ampacity at the 75. I got you. But for adjustment and corrective purposes, to make sure I still have a conductor can actually handle the load, which is 150 amps based on our question, then in the end of the day, I can use a 90 to adjust and correct it if it was a THW-2, but it's not. It's just a THW. So think of that -2 as a reminder that the insulation is good for 90 degrees for the adjustment and corrective purposes, wet or dry location. Also, I should go by mentioning this. I should say, if your lugs are rated 90 and your wire is a -2 is rated 90 and the end lugs are rated 90, then I can use the ampacity of 90 because everything is rated 90 degrees C. But usually that's not the case, because usually if it connects to an overcurrent device, then it's going to be limited. Now, do they make overcurrent devices with a full 100% rating of the lug? Yeah, they do. They're more expensive, typically harder to find. So you're going to be limited to 75 typically, right? In most of the breakers and stuff we buy today, it's very hard to find any that are rated just 60. So most all of them are going to be 60/75. Okay, so you can use the 75, whether it's 60/75, as long as the wire is at least 75 and the end load, whatever you're going to, whatever that device is you're terminating to, if that's at least 75 degree rated, then you can ignore the 60. If any of those things are rated 60, then you're locked at the 60. But all we're talking about here is making an adjustment from a higher ampacity, okay? In our case, it's just THW, so I can't use the 90. I've got to do it from the 75, all right? So that's the first step. So what we want to do, let's go back real quick. Okay, so we need to see under the 75 what conductor is good for 150 amps. So let's go down here. So it looks like a 1/0 is good for 150 amps. But this is, if you're on an exam question, the first thing you want to do is eliminate the obvious. Okay? All right, so let's do a little Joe Paul's obvious elimination. Well, obviously it has to be at least 1/0, so this one's gone. You're saying, well, okay, could the answer be 1/0? And the answer is no, because we have some type of a adjustment that we have to make due to the ambient temperature. So we know it can't be 1/0 because the 1/0 is right at 150. So we know that when we apply this, temperature correction, it's going to be less than 150. So you're like, oh crap, well that eliminates 2. So your answers have to be either 2/0 or 3/0. Okay? Now, since this is so close to 30 degrees Celsius, chances are you know that you just go right to the next size and it's probably going to be fine. And what would be the next size, by the way? Just because we're going to need to know. If we go down here and look, the next size is 175. So I got 25 amps to play with here. Okay? So now what's the next step? Okay, all right, well look. I'm going to show you what I do. So I'm going to go and see what's my multiplier for this ambient temperature. So I'm going to go to ambient. I'm going to go to 31015B11. Now, some people ask me, why do I use 31015B11? It said 40 degrees C, Paul. Why don't I use 31015B12? Because this is for wiring methods that are at 40 degrees C. Okay, so this would be ampacities in table 310.18.19.20. But no, if you go look at the ampacity, the table that you're going to use 99.9% of the time, if you go look at it, it says what? It says the wiring installed in a 30 degrees C ambient temperature. So this is the base value. So this is what this table is about, okay? This table is the base value on a 30 degrees C. And so since it's not 30 degrees C, we have to use what? We have to derate it in some way. So that's why we're back over here and we're saying, okay, so if I'm using table 310.16 or 310.17, then I know that I'm going to be using, if it's an ambient temperature deal, I'm going to be using this one, okay? I'm going to be using table 31015B1. Now, there are some people out there that would tell you to put an X through this one down here, because this is only if you're using 310.18, 310.19, 310. Don't do that. Because somebody like me that writes an exam question, I might ask you a question that needs this table. And if you drew a line through it, you're going to assuredly get that question wrong. You're better off just to learn the code and know when you would use this and when you would not use it. One thing I also tell students that can write in their code book is right here in this margin. See where the space is right here? I usually will write 310.16 and 310.17 right here as a reminder. Again, I'm not telling you to do that. I'm telling you if you're in a state that lets you write in your code book, then that is just a good reminder. Okay? All right. Just kind of throwing those little hints out there to you. All right, so it said 40 degrees C, so we need to find what the multiplier for 40 is for C. All right, so 36 to 40 right here. And you want to use whatever the rating is of your insulation. Okay, so here is the 40, and our insulation was 75. It was THW, right? So you come down here, and our multiplier is going to be 0.88, right? Okay, all right. So that's that part. Let me get back to the lesson here real quick. Okay, so it's 0.88. So you get your handy dandy. We have to blow off the dust off the old Casio. Been a while since we've done any calculations, right? All right, so we're going to take this, blow that crap all off of it, right? And you go, okay, so I need to have at least 150 amps. So I'm going to do 150. I'm going to do what? I'm going to divide that by 0.88. If you divide it, you're going up. If you're multiplying, you're going down. So we already know what the load is. It's 150 amps. So I'm going to use division, and I'm going to do the 150 because that's what we have to have because that's what the panel is, what it is. And we don't know the load, so we're going to assume that. So I'm going to do the 150, and I'm going to use division to look up because that's a little tip. If you already know the load, you use division to look up, and then you go to the code, you go to the table, and you go to the 75 and find your conductor. If you're at the table and you pick a conductor, or the question says the same thing, but it gives you the conductor size, then you're going to start at the amps of the conductor, and you use multiplication, and that'll take you down. Okay, division to look up, multiplication to look down. Okay, all right. So in this case, I need a conductor that is good for 170.45 amps. Okay, because I did the 150 and I used division and the multiplier was 0.88. Okay, so I went up to find the conductor. All right, so now I'm going to go back over to the code and I'm going to go down to 310.16. And I'm like, okay, well, let's go down here. And I said, okay, so I'm just going to go straight to 75 because that's what my conductor's rated for. I'm going to go down here and I'm like, well, this isn't going to work. But wait. The 2-aught is good for 175. Now, how do you check it to make sure it's still good for 150 after that temperature correction? How do you do that? Just to know that you're in the right. So we know it's 2-aught, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to check our math. So I'm going to take that 175 because that's what a 2-aught's good for. Now I'm going to use the multiplication and go down and make sure I got at least 150. So I'm going to do that and multiply the 175 times the same multiplier that I used for the ambient temperature, which again was 40 degrees C rather than 30 degrees C. And we went to 310.15b12 to do that. 310.15b11 to do that. So I'm going to do the 175, multiply that by 0.88, and that gives me 154 amps. 154 amp conductor is perfectly fine for a 150 amp panel. Okay, so that's kind of the way we do that one. So it's going to be 2-aught. And there's your references. 310.16 as well as table 310.15b1. And we had to do calculation. Now, in many states, folks, that is a one-step calculation. So it counts on an exam as a calculation question. But again, it's kind of one of those things where you really need to know how to do this in the field. It's not so much just for an exam. You need to know how to do this if I know what the am. And again, if you haven't done a load calculation, you need to know how to do load calculations. So if you're anybody out there that struggles with calculating load, you really do need to get in our program. We really extensively walk you through how to do load calcs. You really do need to do it. If you're just guessing in the field, it's not the way to be. You need to understand the concepts, how to apply the code, and do those type of things. So I implore you to, if you already have a license and you still struggle with that, then we have a program that's an after licensing program. That's called Mastering the NEC. That's basically a code expert in your pocket, and it does have the interact. So that does people, now, let me tell you, people ask me, do I do consulting? Yes, and I'm expensive. However, if you have Mastering the NEC, it has Fast Tracks Interact. You can take a picture and post it. You can ask a question in the field and put it in the Fast Tracks Interact, and it'll get answered. So again, I'm not telling my board of directors what I do for people, but there is a reason that I added the Fast Tracks Interact to mastering the NEC program. I'm just saying. That's a post-licensing program. That's to have a good code reference in your pocket at all times. It doesn't expire, okay? It's a little hint there for you. All right? All right, let's go to the next question. All right, it says, well, oops, it helps if I share the question with you. A line and ground connecting copper conductors used for connecting surge arresters at a service shall not be smaller than blank. Okay, couple things here is we know that there's a difference, and again, this is going to be what code cycle you're in because this has moved around a little bit. Okay, so you're sitting there thinking, okay, is this 285? Is this somewhere up there? It's where it used to be. In the 2023 edition, which is what we're working out of, you look at this and go, okay, first of all, this is a surge arrestor, right? And so you're thinking, okay, next is asking you about the ground connection copper conductors used for the surge arrestor. Okay, so it's the line and the ground connecting copper conductors. Okay, so I know what it's talking about, but it's for a surge arrestor. So the first thing that I might do, if I'm doing my extreme due diligence, right, is I might do this. I might go, okay, well, let me go to the internet. Okay, there you go, folks. First time today, we're looking at the index. And I might go down to and look under surge arrestor. All right, so I'm going to see if there's anything under surge arrestor in the back of the book, unless you know exactly where to go. And it's not a big article, folks, but there was a change in the 2023 that you need to be aware of, where it went. Okay, so anyway, let's go down here real quick and see. Let's see, P. Let's see here, R, S. Where we at? Okay, we're in S's. And let's see what we got here. Hopefully you're following on the screen. And you're looking under, you go, okay. Oops, here we go. Okay, let's see what we got here. ST. Okay, strike, okay. Okay, surface, okay, we're down here. Okay, moving further down, surge arresters. Right here. Okay, so the first thing you'll notice is what article is in, right? Very first thing you'll say, okay, that's 242. So that's a move, right? The next thing you'll notice is you'll get down here and you'll see, okay, well, it's asking about grounding and all that type of stuff. It's also asking about line as well. So we're going to look over all these real quickly, right? And we're going to say, okay, well, it's not very big. It is 242. It's not big at all. So what's the old golden rule when you see something that it's not very broad, right? Then you're like, oh, okay. Surge arresters, 242, routing, everything like that. But grounding, you have a 242.42, 52, 56, and 60. All right, so what is my golden rule on an exam? When you got your scratch paper, what you're going to do is you're going to write the core thing down. You're going to write 250. So I'm going to write 250, just like that, if you can see it. And underneath my scratch paper, I'm going to do dot 42, dot 52, dot 56, dot 60. Because I don't want to come back here again, okay? So that's the surge arrestor. Now, while I'm back here, I might think, okay, a surge arrestor, and I might think, okay, well, here's surge protection. Oops, sorry about that. I keep forgetting. Take you away. So here's surge protection right here. Again, 242, right? And you go down here again. You look down here, grounding. You say, okay, well, that's the grounding in general. So I'm looking down to see, is there anything additional here that would be beneficial? No, it's all over the place for this one, okay? But it's still 242 right here, okay? All right, so, but we have a direct reference to surge arrestor right here, okay? Right here, 242. All right, so that's going to take us into that. So I'm going to get us into that. And let's see here. Let's share this one. All right, so I'm going to go to 242. Again, people say, I have people also that comment say, Paul, I don't have that much time on the exam. Well, you'll do this a lot quicker, but I'm kind of just walking you through the pieces. But you're preparing for an exam. Take your time, okay? Take your time. So what I'm going to be dealing with is, first of all, here's one thing that I tell people to do. Again, if you're allowed to highlight, in your code books, then make sure you highlight this one right here, right, in one color, and then this one in another color, okay? Because this one is SPDs, and this one is surge arresters, part 3. It's just going to help you distinguish them a little quicker. Okay, so that's how you actually, folks, there is a right way. I do also see this all the time on the internet. People say they want to sell you a code book that's already tabbed out. Absolutely not. First of all, you don't know if you're buying a counterfeit book or not, because there was some folks selling counterfeit books on TikTok, and I won't mention any names. But you have to be careful where you buy your book. If it seems too good to be true, then it's probably counterfeit, and you're going to have certain things that are missing. And you might go, what the hell? It's missing. Yeah, you'll tell. But also, when you buy somebody that already tabs it for you, then you're shortcutting yourself. You really need, or you're cheating yourself, I should say. Part of the learning process is tabbing your code book and being able to say, oh, that's what that is. You learn something from tabbing. You need to tab your own thing. Do not spend crazy money on a code book that's already pre-tabbed. And don't let anybody else highlight your book. You highlight your book, okay? There is no shortcuts here, folks. Do it yourself. It's part of the journey, all right? Please don't buy into that crap. Yeah, and if you can, buy it from NFPA. It supports NFPA, your local supply house, things like that. Don't buy them from Amazon. Don't buy them from eBay. Be careful when you buy them from TikTok people or social media people. That, again, they're trying to sell you a pamphlet course or something they're just in it for the money. They're not in it to make sure you learn something. I teach you the code. I give you free resources. I write blogs. We have courses. We got to make a living. But we give you resources. We give you the mobile device. We do the podcasts. We give you... Just be careful what you do with your hard-earned money. I'm just saying, okay? All right, so we're going to go and we're going to scroll on down. Let me get back to this real quick. Let me answer the question here. So again, so this is part 2. So that's a surge protected device, 1,000 volts or less. Gets over that, it's surge arresters. So let's go down here. We're going to go to where we needed to go. Let's see here. Let's just scroll on down. Here we go. Surge arresters. All right. So there we go. So what are we looking for? Line and ground connection, connecting surge arresters. All right. So, and also, what's the trigger? Conductor size, right? Conductor size. That is a trigger. So we're looking for that reference because it said 6, 10, 12, or 16, right? All right, so you're looking here. Okay, so surge arresters rating. Okay, we see ratings, but it's nothing about sizing. Okay, number required. I see nothing about sizing. Location. This is not about sizing. Routing. Okay, this is about routing the conductors. Nothing about sizing. Connections. Okay, where to make the connections for these lightning arresters. Okay, let's see. All right, surge conductors. Boom, I see a size right out the gate. It says between the surge arrestor and the line and the surge arrestor in the grounding connection shall not be smaller than 6 copper or aluminum. Okay, so interesting here that it says 6 copper or aluminum. So it allows them both to be the same size. Okay, but that seems odd for me. But hey, I'm not going to question it. It is what it is. So we'll go back over to the lesson and we'll say, okay, well, it says that it's got to be at least 6 regardless. But we're always going to do copper unless stated otherwise, so it doesn't matter. So we're going to say 6. And there's our reference, 442.52, okay? That's kind of how you would break that down. That's also how you would bold scan. So you've heard me talk about the 2 techniques. Bold scanning, when you identify that it's a short article, or if you can get to a part in an article that you know that's where your answer is, then you use the bold scanning, and you use not only the questions information, triggers, but you also use the answers, especially if you get lucky enough to have a question that actually gives you the answer like inches or feet or conductor size or whatever. Makes it a little easier because you're going to use all of those things to find the answer. Okay. All right. Next question. It says, at least one receptacle shall be installed on porches, decks, or balconies of dwellings that are attached to the dwelling. And you'll notice that we're not just talking about single-family dwellings. This could be porches, decks, or balconies to individual dwelling units, by the way, in a multifamily buildings. Okay, there's some things to keep in mind. We'll look at that to see if it makes a difference in the question. This is why we're learning. And it says, and they shall be placed not more than blank above the finished floor. Okay, so we have an 8. We could throw the 8 out because there's no way you can reach this damn receptacle. So outside on a porch or a deck or a balcony, what would be the point, right? That doesn't make sense, right? Let's see. So we got that, and so you're thinking, well, 2 feet? What? I mean, no, I can have them higher than 2 feet. So you rule it down to 4 or 6.5, and you're thinking, well, I have a 50-50 chance. So if you eliminate, okay. If you eliminate the obvious, although some people might say, well, 8 foot, 8 foot's the max, So, they're like, okay, that's what you think. Maybe. I don't know. So where do we go? Okay, so first thing that I would do is this reminds me very much, what's my golden rule? This is talking about receptacles and dwellings. So there is a holy grail location that you would go to when it comes to receptacles and receptacle placements and where you can put things. Okay, whether it's the 6 foot, 12 foot rule, whether it can be in the floor, no more than 18 inches from the wall. This is saying, okay, this is specific about a placement of a receptacle. And in this case, it's for porches, decks, and balconies. So there's a couple ways I can dissect this one, okay? And let's do this real quick. We'll go over to the code, and let's go to the index right here. So let's go right here. And let's see, it's not loading. So there we go. There we go. All right. So one of the things you might say, well, Paul, what's a simple approach to this? Well, I can look under, let's just look under decks. I mean, hell, it's worth a shot, right? So again, and we're going to learn what is and what is not in the index. So if I get a question like this for receptacles and decks and anything unique to decks, we're going to learn today whether or not there's anything under decks that would be relevant. Okay, so we're going under D. Here's D right here. Okay, and we're going to go see if there's anything under decks. Let's see, here's DEA. There, here, decks. Right here. I don't know if y'all can see that or not. It says receptacles for decks. 210.52E3. Well, shit, I'm on a mission now, folks, boys and girls. So now I'm going to say, well, what about porches? I don't know. Let's go look. Now you know that it's decks. Let's see here. Let's look under porches. This is what you do, folks, when you're using the code. You're going to go around and see all of the possible answers. So I'm going to look under P here, plenum, polarization, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to look under here, and let's see here, poles, pool covers, pools, porches, receptacles, 210.52E3. Damn, we're on a roll. All right, you know what I got to do still, folks. You know daggone well that I'm going to have to look. What do y'all know? What does Paul got to do?
Woo, 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 woo. Big dog.
Paul's got to look under balconies. I've got no choice now. I got to see. Is it under balconies too? All right. So let's go here. Look, see, here's B. And balconies. Outdoor receptacles, 210.52E3. Well, folks, I'm going to tell you that it is a super high probability that at this point, it's under 210.52, 210.52. I mean, look, there's just no damn way it can't be. Now, if I knew it was receptacles, like I said earlier, and I knew it was dwellings, then you would have gravitated to 210.52 anyway. Because remember, that's the holy grail of receptacle location and placement and those type of things. That's your holy grail, all right? So again, it's talking about a dwelling unit. So you're like, okay, well, dwelling unit, okay, all right. So 210.52, so I'm looking for what? Something that says porches, decks, and balconies. So here's a general provision, spacing. We know that's not what we're talking about. Floor receptacles, not what we're talking about. Small appliance, kitchen, countertop, island peninsula, bathroom, outdoor outlets. Okay, yeah, we got an outdoor outlet. It says it was on a porch, deck, or balcony. All right, so one family dwellings, all right. Multi-family dwellings is going to make a difference. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Balconies, decks, and porches. All right. Okay. So it says balcony, decks, and porches that are within 4 inches horizontally of the dwelling unit shall have at least one receptacle outlet accessible from the balcony, deck, or porch. It says the receptacle outlet shall not be located more than 6.5 feet. Remember, in the question is 0.5, okay? So that is not representing 5 inches, folks. That's representing 0.5. That's half of a foot. That's 6 inches. All right? Again, you could get it asked in many different ways, so just be careful. All right? So it's 6.5 feet, right? Easy peasy. So you're thinking 6.5, it's 6.5 feet. Boom. There's our answer. Boom. There's our code reference. And dude, we got it in multiple places over in the index. In fact, there may be more places. In fact, I could have looked under receptacle, and it might have been under receptacle. It might have said outdoor, decks, porches, right? But that's an example of taking your time, going through, and you'll forever remember that if you get one of those questions, that if it's deck, porch, or balcony, and even also now you understand that if it's a deck, porch, or balcony, now I can tell you, typically balconies are going to be connected because they got to support the weight. So they're going to be connected. But you could have a porch or you could have a deck that is not built into the foundation of the dwelling unit. So it might be standing off or freestanding. Well, in that case, again, if it's within 4 inches of the dwelling, then it's considered part of that dwelling, and this rule would apply. If it's more than 4 inches, then it's separate. It's on its own. It is not part of the dwelling. Okay. All right. Yeah, always write down, make notes. You got scratch paper in an exam for a reason. Use it. In Texas, they give you a dry erase pad. Use it. So again, at the end of the day, use all of those resources. All right, let's go give some stuff away today. Hopefully you got something out of the questions today. If not, sorry, is what it is. So let's do some spinning and get people on some giveaways. Oh, sorry, Adam. Fast Tracks Tube, you need it. If you don't have it, just go to Fast Tracks Tube, go to where it says Members Plans, choose the free one, sign up, pick your username, password, and everything, and then email us to let us know. Any of our emails will work. You can even do it at paulabernathy.com. It's fine. And we will get you elevated up to the annual account. And at the end of a year, you can choose to renew it. Our hopes that you will renew it and stay with the program. All right, let's do another one here. Greg, you are in the drawing for the electrician's mini knife, and I actually have one here. And I am not going to tell you how I know it's sharp, okay? I'll let everybody else tell you. If you're new here, I will tell you how I know this little knife is sharp. I'm going to leave it at that. Okay, so you're in the drawing for the electrician's knife. All right, congratulations on that, being on that drawing. David Agris. Is that it, David? All right, David, you were in the drawing for the Trade Hog, which is the basic plan, which is 12-month access. You're in the drawing. It's not instant win. You're in the drawing. And for those that are not familiar with what Trade Hog is or what it looks like, I'll just give you a quick peek. So this is Trade Hog. You can ask it any question you want in the field. It's designed to be optimized for your cell phone. So you can ask it whatever question you want in the field. If there's something in your program, if there's something in, you're trying to learn something in the field, or maybe even you're using Link from NFPA and there's something that you don't understand, you can copy it and paste it in here, right? And also, here's something that you didn't know, is on your phone, you could take a picture of a nameplate, and you could come here and you could click this little thing right here, and it only works on JPEGs, and it will either read the label, and then you can ask it other questions about expiration dates, manufacturer information. There is a lot of powerful things you can use with this attach feature. Okay, but it's really only going to work on an image, and it's not going to work every time. We're still messing with this attachment, but it is active, and you can use it in the field and take pictures. For example, you can take a picture of a nameplate of an HVAC unit and ask it for all the code references or to analyze something or whatever like that, and it will help you out with that. Again, hopefully it's not going to make people dumber. The concept is to make people smarter. That's what we're shooting for with the Hog. Okay, and we also just don't want you to make mistakes in the field. We want another set of eyes on it, and so that's what we're using the Hog for that. You can go try it out for free. It's available over on tradehog.net, so check it out. But it's also available on tradehog.com and .org as well. We have all the domains. That's my recommendation to everybody who wants to get in the internet game. Make sure you grab the major names, okay? Make sure you always get your .net, your .org, and your .com. It's best investment. It's only like $15 each a year, but it's like real estate. So anybody who wants to go in the internet and start selling stuff, and even those that want to go online and start doing electrical education, don't be a dummy. Make sure you get all of the .nets, .org, or .com, or you could have somebody that comes along and takes it. Just saying, fair game. All right, folks, that's all I've got for today. Hopefully you learned something in today's lesson. We'll join you tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be Thursday. If you have any code questions, feel free to bring them. I think for the rest of the week, we're going to look at some questions. Maybe tomorrow we'll try to do a few calculations questions maybe and do it that way. But if you have any questions that you want to ask, that you want us to go over in a calculation, or any questions you've encountered, email them to me or send them to us at Paul Abernathy at paulabernathy.com. Use the portal to send us a question, and I'm more than happy to answer it. And we'll catch you in another episode of Coffee Hour. All right, folks, get at it. Stay safe. We'll catch you tomorrow. You know I can't let y'all all go that way. One more time, spin the wheel. Let's go. See who gets added. Pays to hang around, I'm just saying. Pays to hang around. Never know, folks, so quickly to jump off. All right, Carlos, let's see here. Martinez, you have in the drawing for the NFC card. NFC card. These are a tap card that you can tap your customer's phone, your friend's phone, your coworker's phone. And if they have NFC enabled, it will put whatever's on this card on their phone, website, whatever you want it to do. These do it. These are the limited edition for the coffee hour promo cards. It will come programmed with our information on it, our shows, our links, but you can reprogram this for free. It's a free software that you can get from the Apple or Google store. It's free on your phone. If you've got NFC on your phone, you can reprogram this and put your own website on it, whatever you want. You're in the drawing for this. We're giving these away on June 30th. So congratulations. All right, folks, that was it. Till next time, stay safe. God bless.